Fascinating stories behind popular art. The creation of Adam. In 1511, the famous artist Michelangelo was commissioned to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Around 1511 to 1512, he painted one of the most infamous works of his career, The Creation of Adam, which depicts God giving life to Adam, the first man. Contrary to popular belief that Michelangelo and his assistants were lying down to create the art, they actually stood. Michelangelo created a scaffolding system with brackets that allowed the team to paint over their heads. Also, psychologists believe that the God side of the painting looks like a human brain, that it represents God bestowing his intelligence upon man. American Gothic. Grant Wood, a painter from Eldon, Iowa, drove Wood around the town where he would find the infamous house to be his background in 1930. He then recruited his sister Nan to model as the woman and his 62-year-old dentist to be the man in the This means that the couple in the painting weren't really married. Wood originally wanted his mother, but decided that the task would be too much for her. So Nan wore their mother's apron and pin. Starry Night. Starry Night was painted by Vincent van Gogh in June of 1889, and it depicts a southern French town called Saint-Rémy-de-Provence. Many people assume that the painting was the view from his window, but that's not the complete story. Van Gogh was actually admitted as a patient in the town's mental hospital, and Starry Night depicted the view from his hospital room. The Persistence of Memory. The Persistence of Memory was painted in 1974 by Salvador Dali. He was inspired to create the painting after he and his wife Gala were entertaining a guest with wine and camembert cheese. Gala and the guest left to go see a movie, and Dali stayed behind to nap because he had a headache. When he woke up, he saw that the cheese had melted, and he was getting the sense that time was moving slowly. The two experiences melded together and inspired Dali to create the iconic painting. The Raft of the Medusa. The Raft of the Medusa was painted between 1818 and 1819 by Theodore Géricault, and it is the second most popular painting at the Louvre Museum in Paris, France. The painting is based on actual events as it depicts a violent scene of survivors being washed out onto a raft. The Medusa was a real ship sent out to Senegal in 1815 to reclaim the land from the British by King Louis XVIII. But the ship ran aground off the coast of Mauritania, and 133 sailors died from the crash or from going mad and eating each other. Only 15 sailors survived. Whistler's Mother. While there is some controversy regarding the backstory of Whistler's mother, the general consensus is that the painting is the result of a model who didn't show up. In 1871, James McNeill Whistler had booked a model for a painting project, but she wasn't able to commit. So Whistler used his mother, Anna McNeill Whistler, instead. His original intention was to have the model standing in on the painting, but his mother couldn't stay on her feet for the duration of the painting being created. This led to Whistler allowing his mother to sit, thus creating her infamous pose. The Scream. Edvard Munch's The Scream is one of the most fascinating paintings in the art world, along with being one of the scariest. Munch got his inspiration for the painting while walking the streets of Nice, France in 1892. He saw that the sky was blood red and he sensed a scream creaking from the city around him. Munch interpreted it as nature literally screaming at him. In 1893, Munch created 4 different versions of the iconic painting, which are now displayed in museums and are a part of some people's private collections. The Mona Lisa. Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa has always remained a mystery, as the smiling woman in the painting has never been officially identified for centuries. However, recent historical records indicate that the woman may very well be Lisa Gherardini, who was a member of a very rich and prominent family in Florence. Their fathers were very good friends, and art historians are inclined to believe that Gherardini's father commissioned the famous painting. Campbell's soup cans. In the 1960s, pop art was quickly emerging as the new masterpiece, and Andy Warhol was seeking inspiration for his next work when a friend suggested that he paint something that everyone would recognize. So, Warhol decided to paint 32 different cans of Campbell's soup. The reason behind the choice was that Campbell's was the staple food item of the century in the US. Using projections and tight lines, Warhol was able to create lifelike paintings of America's comfort food. While people bought individual paintings at first, Warhol realized that the art worked better as a complete set, so he bought back the individual paintings. Guernica. Guernica was painted in June of 1937 by Pablo Picasso and is considered one of the most moving paintings in art history. as well as being one of the most provoking anti-war paintings in existence. The city of Guernica was bombed by German and Italian warplanes in 1937, and the government actually commissioned Pablo Picasso to create a painting depicting the horror and pain of being bombed, as well as to show how much people suffered from the tragedy.